Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first community call for the year. Hope you had a great start for 2022. Thank you so much for joining and all the love and support you provide to the project. I'm Swapnil Mane, and today with me, I'm having Swell Al Ahmad, our CEO and co-founder, and we will talk about the community plugins and the new features we are planning to roll out for the Webiny. So let's get started. So as you can see, the agenda for the call is we will talk about community plugins. So what are community plugins, how you can contribute to it, and how you can use the existing plugins. So we'll talk about that. Then we open up the question and answer for the community plugins. Then we will have the product roadmap session where we'll show you some cool features which are planned out for the project, and we'll have a preview of it. And then we will have a very quick poll, and then we'll open up for the question and answers. You can ask anything about serverless, CMS, or if you have any other question in Webiny, we will discuss those. So let's kick off with community plugins. So what are community plugins? So the story started like many times our community members ask the questions. We have a plugin, how we can contribute it to the project. For example, if you have any page builder element or a headless CMS field, how we can contribute that. So with that in mind, we constantly think about it, and it gives birth to the community plugins. So community plugins are the plugins which are supported by the community. So it is created, contributed, and managed by the community. So it's by the community, for the community, and to the community. So the community members manage these plugins. And you can find this all the plugins which are from the community under the webiny-contrib/plugins repository. So basically it is having like all the plugins which is created and contributed by the community. Currently we have like 2 plugins here. Both are created from us just to demonstrate how the process will work. Let's come to the next topic, which is how you can create a new community plugin. So there are really very 4 simple steps to create a plugin that you can contribute to the community. So first is like cloning the plugin repository. I will show you more details in the guide. So these 4 steps are like creating cloning the plugin repository, then creating a component, and then doing the actual implementation, and as simple as this, like raising the pull request. Cool. So let's go to the community plugin contribution guide. So as you can see, if you visit the Webiny docs, you can find a community plugins heading there, and in this you can find all the details about how you can create a community plugin. So as I mentioned, this is the repository for all the community contributed plugins. Currently, we have 2 plugins. One is the secret text, which is built for the headless CMS. It's a headless CMS field plugin, and the other one is like the iframe element for the page builder. So the process is, since all the plugins, community plugins, will go under this repository, so you have to first clone this repository under your Webiny project. So the project which you have created from like the npx command. So you can just go into your Webiny project and clone this plugins repository at the root of your project. Then we will run the simple scaffold. You already may be aware of this. There are various scaffolds present that comes out of the box with the Webiny. So we will select the React component package, and then it will ask you a simple question, the component name, which you can like, for example, if I'm building an iframe element for the page builder, I just will simply give it the name as an iframe, and then the package location. So currently, if you see like inside the plugins repository, we have 2 subfolders. Like one is for the headless CMS, another is for the page builder. So currently, the iframe belongs to the page builder, so we will select this particular directory. So if I'm creating iframe for the page builder, your location will look something like this. So plugins, page builder, and the name of your plugin. Then we enter the package name. The pattern which we should follow is like @Webiny contrib dash name of your plugin, because this will be the npm package under which we will be publishing your package, and others can just simply download this npm package and can use it. So like for this iframe particular case, it will like @webiny contrib dash iframe. Now for implementing the plugin, so if you can see, you might have seen this tutorials and the docs documents already. So these are the docs for creating a new page element for the page builder, or creating custom field in the headless CMS. So you can follow this tutorial and implement your own plugin. Just please make sure you put your code under the SRC. So the implementation process is as usual, and it has no difference. All the existing way of building plugin which you are following is exactly applicable here as well. So we just follow this particular that particular process and build the plugins. And now once we are ready with that, we have like all the code in the SRC directory. So with this in mind, the process is same as like for building the custom field plugin or the new element plugin for the page. You can follow these tutorials which is already there from and once you are ready, you just simply create a pull request. That's it, right? So so now the question is how it will be published to the npm and where it will be published. So the process currently is like that. The Webiny team will take care of publishing your package to the npm. So it is because like we have like this one Webiny dash contrib account where all the community plugins will be published. So we have a plan where we will periodically publish all the plugins which are contributed by the community in this repository. So you have just the plan to the responsibility of implementation it and publishing it to the npm will take care by the Webiny team. So this is the simple process which we follow for like creating and contributing a new community plugin. So pretty much the process is almost the same. Only you have to just clone the plugins repository, and instead of your code will go inside the plugins repository, so that you can contribute back and raise the pull request from there. Now, if we talk about like, so this was all about like the contributing or creating a new plugin. For example, if you would like to contribute to an existing plugin. So here I created like a secret text plugin, which is basically nothing but what it does, when you it's an headless CMS field secret text. So what it does, it stores the encrypted data into the database. So whenever you it's a text field, whenever you enter something, when it stores in the database, encrypt the data, and when you are after retrieving it decrypt it. So it's just a sample plugin. You can just go to this particular tutorial, which is already there in our docs, and through which you can create this plugin. So we have created this sample plugin, and in the maintainers, the respective maintainers will be there for the particular community plugin. And to contribute it, the idea is every community plugin will have its own guide or the instruction how you can contribute. Because like if you talk about the headless CMS field plugin, it is having a different setup for registering it or installing like how we import the different field type and other stuff. So if you go to like any of the community plugin, you can find the simple steps. So like first step will be like cloning the plugins repository. If you have already there, you can just get update to it. And in package.json, you can just define the workspace, then linking of the workspace, then the watch command for that particular package. And then you since our like if you talk about the headless CMS field, this plugin is built up from different it's collection of various plugins like field type, field render, and GraphQL. I will not go to the detail of implementation. It's like as the simple plugin which we implement for the headless CMS. You can we will provide all the links in the description when we upload this video to the YouTube, so you can just go and have some more detailed looks on how this plugin is implemented. And then we will simply like once since you are already having the Webiny project and you are cloning the plugin repository, you can just add it to your admin app or headless CMS API part and just start watching it. So you can actually see what the plugin is doing, and you can then make the changes to it, this particular repository, and just raise the pull request. So so this is just the instructions for like how you can contribute to this secret text plugin, so which is a headless CMS field. In the same way, we have the iframe for the page builder. There you also find the instruction like how you can contribute there. So so this is just simple instructions, and every plugin will have its own contribution instructions. So pretty much it most of it will be like the overlay, but you don't have to worry about where you can look for. Just select the plugin which you would like to maybe like the update or contribute. So for example, here we have 2 plugins, and in future we will have various other community contributed plugins here. So you can just go there, go to their docs, that instruction how you can contribute to that particular plugin. So this comes to the so we cover majorly 3 topics: what are community plugins, how you can create the existing, how you can create a new community plugin. So we have a guide for it, and for contributing to existing plugins, every community plugins has its own contribution guide, so you can refer to that. This comes to me to the next topic: what's next plan for the community plugins. So one is like it's something which we implemented and would really like to have your feedback on. So based on your feedback, we will improve the process, and if you face any friction in implementing anything or contributing, we will try to fix it out. And based on your feedback, we will define our next items for improving the all over community plugin contribution ecosystem. And definitely cool swags are waiting for our contributors. So this is just we would like to thank them for their commitment and the love they provide to the project. So these are the majorly a very brief overview of like what are community plugins. If you visit the docs, you will have like more deeper content and understanding, like and it contains more deeper level of content for the community plugins. So this brings to me this was some overview about like community plugins. If you have any questions or any feedback, we'll really love to listen from you. Yes, Ben.
Hey, Swantnil, did I hear right that you've got to put it in the right folder for the, so if it's for the headless CMS, you got to put it in that folder in the plugins directory. Is that correct? Right. You nest them. I just didn't. I don't know if I didn't hear properly, but
right. That's correct. So like here's the Webiny contrib plugins repository. Mm-hmm. So in headless CMS, currently we have like just one field. So it's a secret text, so it will be there. And in page builder, we have iframe. So all the iframe, all the page builder related plugins will be goes here, and all the headless CMS field will be goes there.
So, that makes sense. Okay, cool. I just must have missed that. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I did have another question. Could I go again? Sorry, do you mind?
Yeah, please.
So is there so what happens in terms of the control of that? Is there a license for it? Like, does that maintain the control of the contributor? And
right. So basically, plan is currently all the plugins will be in the like with the open source license which we are using for the Webiny. So it will be like free to use to all. And to build a we are currently working on building like it's definitely a future where we can build the ecosystem around the plugins. So that's really the future we are looking forward, and down the line we will look how we can like if you talk about like we can create the plugins for Windows, we can create the plugins for like IntelliJ IDEA. So on the similar pattern, it will be ideal future where we can create that marketplace for around the Webiny. But to start with, this will be under the open source license which we are using for the Webiny, so it will be free for everyone to use.
Makes sense. All right, thanks for that.
Right.
Looks great, by the way. Looks really great.
Right. Sam, Sven, would you like to add anything to this or for the licensing part?
Yeah, so nothing for now. For now, the main goal of the contributions of plugins is to make it simple for users that they can exchange plugins and share them around the community. That is the main goal we're tackling now. Over time, we'll see how this develops, and then as we do with many other things, we'll just iterate on it and improve it over time, right? But we want to start with the minimum viable approach here and then scale from there.
Awesome. So is there any other question we have for the community plugins? So no worries, like please have a try it out, and if you face any question, please feel free to ping us on the Slack. We will be very happy to assist or guide you there. So with this, I'd like to over to you, Sven, to discuss the product roadmap.
Awesome, thank you, Swapnil. For the folk who joined a bit late as we kicked off the first session, so this first session was all about how to contribute a community plugin, and you'll see from the recording we'll share afterwards any parts that you've potentially missed there. As the second part of today's community call, I'll focus on the product roadmap. So I'll guide you through a couple of things we have in the pipeline, things we delivered, and maybe share just a slight glimpse into the future of where this project is going to go, right? So first, I'm just going to do a quick overview of the product roadmap, looking at the previous quarter, so the Q2 of 21, as well as some of the plans for Q1 and maybe some things in Q2 of this year, right? And then some things that we have later on. This slide is similar to the previous one that Pedro shared on the December community call, but there are still some differences to it. So I just want to point those out. First one being the multi-tenancy. So multi-tenancy V2 was just launched. Through this multi-tenancy, like now there's a tenancy management system. You just click create a completely new tenant. You can have thousands of tenants. Each tenant will be a different website, a different headless project, for whatever you need it to be. But essentially, like every tenant gets all the Webiny applications, but it starts with a clean slate, right? As well as through the multi-tenancy, we worked heavily on improving how multi-tenancy and page builder works. Now you'll have a single point of entry as a domain URL for all your tenants, and using a specific header and mapping strategies, you can route that domain to different tenants. Putting a different CDN in front of it, you can then map vanity domains, vanity certificates to Webiny and kind of route them to the right tenant and display the right page builder website. Even expanding on that, we added the support to have multiple themes for the page builder in the system. And as a tenant admin, you can say this tenant can pick between theme A and theme B, but this other tenant can only use theme C. So you were able to organize which visual style a certain page builder website can use. But this now completes the whole picture of using Webiny as a multi-tenant CMS for both the headless CMS as well as the page builder and other applications. So that's just launched. It's an enterprise feature, but I'm going to expand on that in the next few slides. We're going to be opening up this feature to more than just the enterprise users. The second one is we fully completed the Okta identity provider integration. One of the enterprise customers is already using it in a very advanced manner. we're able to map tenants to different Okta applications. You can use Okta behind Webiny. There's a lot we did here. It's not just the most basic scenario. Actually, we support everything from basic Okta integrations to the more advanced Okta integrations with customizations and many options there. And finally, like one item that we were planning to deliver, we were hoping we'll be able to deliver it by end of Q4, but it got pushed to end of January this year, which is the Webiny Control Panel Alpha. I'm going to talk more about Webiny Control Panel, what you can expect out of that in the next slide. But if you're interested in the alpha testing, do reach out to either myself or Swapnil or Pedro on Slack, and we will onboard you to the alpha version once it's ready. Alpha is going to be closed for public, meaning just invite only. But that kind of brings us to the plan for Q1 and Q2, what our focus is. Number one, dynamic pages. So dynamic pages were requested over and over again, and we did some development work there, but then took a step back because where it was heading was being the most powerful dynamic pages implementation you can find, but at the same time it was the most complex to use, and that wasn't a good approach. We didn't like that, so we took a step back. We now have a much cleaner, leaner vision of the dynamic pages. It's going to be very simple to use, and essentially the goal with this is that a non-technical person, like any parts of your marketing team, can build dynamic pages as well. So simplifying the whole process for them was of utter importance for us, right? The second one is Webiny Control Panel Beta. So expanding on Alpha, the beta is going to be open to public just under the beta tag and with a limited set of features, but it's still going to be able, you're still going to be able to use certain features in WCP, like monitoring your usage of API calls, and a few other bits are going to come later as we roll out more and more of these features on the Webiny Control Panel. But Webiny Control Panel is going to play a very important role for the future of Webiny. Again, going to expand on that a bit more in the next slide. The next one is Advanced Publishing Workflow. I'm going to show you a screenshot of this new cool application, but essentially it gives you full granular control over how a content can be published, which content can be published, and what are the workflows for specific content pieces, because you can have multiple workflows. But essentially, it gives you full control, ensuring that there's a peer review process that is triggered before any content can reach your website, right? Finally, headless CMS. So headless CMS is getting quite a lot of attention, and with that, we set ourselves a few key goals for Q1 for headless CMS, and those focus on improving the product stability. So you'll see in the release that's coming up early next week, there's going to be loads of those packaged into the release. Second one is advanced search capabilities. Webiny in the DynamoDB plus Elasticsearch version, it's got already quite a lot of these search capabilities, but because of the fact we're using Elasticsearch in this architecture, we can do a lot more. And several users asked for logical operators, many more full text searching capabilities, and things like that. So we're going to be adding a lot of these in the upcoming weeks. Finally, one of the pain points that a couple of users complained, and we're quite aware of that, is how do you actually migrate schemas in Webiny? I make a change to the schema in one environment. How do I move that change to another environment, right? Today, it's kind of a semi-manual process where everybody is building their own CLI tools to automate some of these bits, but it's not kind of yet a fully productionized workflow. So we are now doing the product research for that. We're asking several community members for input and feedback, and by hopefully Q1 we'll have a solution in place. Right. So these are some of the bits that are in focus for us for Q1, majority of those, and Q2 some of those. But you'll see like we're hitting some of the really crucial features and improvements that many of the community members asked, right? On future roadmap, again, still multi-cloud deployment is something we want to achieve. But before we get there, there's a couple of these iterations that we need to go through. Just moving on to the next slide. So just having a slightly deeper dive into the Webiny control panel, right? So today, Webiny is self-hosted and open source, and that part pretty much stayed the same. But Webiny control panel comes in, it's an add-on product that is a cloud-based SaaS product that sits on top of your Webiny self-hosted instances, one or more, right? And the idea with Webiny is that we optimize the effort required to manage, scale, maintain your Webiny self-hosted instances, right? To make all of that work around self-hosting easy as possible. And that's where Webiny control panel comes, right? So through that panel, we hook into your Webiny instances and help you manage it, right? And that means monitoring your API usage, monitoring cloud costs, for example. That means, hey, this is my Webiny project. This project has production stage development environment. This project has a team of 10 engineers, and each engineer has multiple deployments across different AWS organizations and accounts. But can I answer the question of how much on a monthly basis am I paying to AWS to manage and host this project across all of these environments and developers, right? The cloud cost analysis that we're hoping to deliver is going to be able to answer that question. And not just that, but also drill down into, hey, how much did this particular developer spend? How much did this environment spend, right? You'll be able to understand the total cost of your project per environment, per developer. Another really cool feature that's going to be enabled by Webiny control panel is going to be multi-stage deployments. You'll be able to roll out, let's say there's a Webiny update, but your website is handling millions and millions of web requests and users, and you're afraid to kind of apply that update. With multi-stage, you'll be able to deploy a new Webiny version and say, hey, only 2% of my users go to that new version, right? And if you're then happy with that, increase it to 50 and then increase it to 100, right? So you'll be able to have not just that blue-green type of a deployment, but you're going to be able to have multiple versions, and you'll be able to do traffic splitting between them. And if you notice an issue, you'll be able to route the traffic 100% back to the previous version. Now, this is quite an advanced setup in a serverless environment. There's many challenges. There's loads of logic on that edge. Multiple cloud fronts are needed to route this thing around. But we already have working concepts, and now it's just kind of building on top of that. But very kind of closely coupled to the multi-stage deployments is the next one, which is point-in-time recovery. So you'll be able to have regular snapshots on like a couple of second intervals on your DynamoDB database, on an hourly intervals, on an Elasticsearch, right? And if something on the database side goes wrong, you'll be able to have an instant point-in-time recovery to which you can go back to, right? All of that, again, managed through WCP, but WCP doesn't store a single data from your Webiny instance into our cloud. Everything is still managed in your own cloud, right? So we don't take away any of the data control. We don't break any of the compliances. We just do the management aspect within your cloud. And there's going to be also alerting capabilities on cost, on performance, and many other bits. But as we roll out the beta, we'll probably just start working from the list from the top, having the API usage in beta, and then adding each of these over time to ensure that you have full operational excellence when managing your Webiny instances through WCP. But this being a SaaS product, right? We're now kind of introducing a new pricing tier for that, right? Today we do have the open source tier, which is free, and we have the enterprise tier, which starts roughly 50K per instance, right? But we're going to be introducing a new tier, which we're going to call the business tier. And the business tier is going to start with the free tier. And then after the free tier, it's going to be pay per user seat. Users we're going to be counting the users, not the users in WCP. You can have unlimited of these, but we're going to be counting the users inside the Webiny CMS instances, because that's where the product usage comes from, right? But that we still don't have a correct, like a fully confirmed price point for business, but expect something as a starting price around $9 a month. Although, like I said, it's not yet 100%, but that's kind of where we want to get it to. But another interesting bit with business is that the multi-tenancy feature, which was asked for hundreds of times, hey, can I use multi-tenancy? It's still not going to be in open source, but it's going to be in the business tier. It's not going to be only reserved for enterprise. So we're going to move that here, and like through the free tier, you can still use them and create many tenants, many websites. And Webiny kind of bringing that feature at a much lower price point to the users, right? And then last feature that I'm just going to spend a bit more time today on, it's going to be just a minute or two, is going to be the advanced publishing workflow. When we designed this feature, we were looking at having a publishing workflow that is agnostic to the content. Because what are the things you can publish in Webiny? You can publish pages in the page builder. You'll be able to publish dynamic pages, that is page builder templates. And then you can also publish forms. And then you can also publish entries inside headless CMS. All of these things are versioned, of course, but still you need to have control, right? And we want to kind of provide that control through an agnostic interface for each of these three applications. And that's how we designed the advanced publishing workflow. First, you start off by defining your workflows. You can say, hey, my default workflow applies to all of the pages in the page builder, and beside the person that is editing and trying to publish the content, at least one other pre-reviewer needs to approve, right? Very simple, right? But then you can say, hey, for any content that is about blog posts, I want also a copywriter in there. So a three-step process. Somebody publishes, a copywriter approves, and another peer reviewer approves, right? But then besides just defining a content publishing workflow that's default or that's per page category, you can go even granular. You can say this publishing workflow applies to the home page and to the About Us page. Only do these two changes, and these require the CEO's sign-off as well, right? So you can have per page category, or across multiple categories, or as a default workflow. So you have full control to define these workflows. And you can say this workflow applies to headless CMS or to the page builder, right? As somebody who's in charge of reviewing, we're going to be providing you with a content review dashboard. You'll see exactly which content is awaiting your approval. And you'll be able to filter and easily find those content. There's going to be email notifications, daily digests, or weekly digests. So you understand that you have some outstanding tasks and that things don't fall through the cracks. You can also assign multiple reviewers that can provide a sign off on a particular step, so you don't get blocked by one person, especially if they go on holiday or things like that. Right? Then finally, this is, for example, the last screen, the screen that's shown here, that is the actual content review, right? So on the left hand side, you're going to see the steps, which step is currently being displayed, how many changes have been requested, which changes have been signed off, which changes require more attention, and you can then have a collaborative approach to resolving those changes and agreeing, yes, I'm happy to provide a sign off, or change it this way, then you change it, provide another iteration to it, and things like that. Right? So this process is all about giving that control and having that collaborative approach across your whole organization in terms of managing and signing off on content before it hits production, right? So that's kind of a quick overview of some of the items, and I've showed several screenshots just so you can see our progress, that it's not just a letter on the screen, but we are actually kind of already having some progress that we can show visually, right? Now I'm happy to kind of take any questions and see like how I can help answer some of those. So there's one question from France that says, the new business package looks great. Awesome. Would you be willing to give startups cheaper access to all enterprise benefits for a certain period of time, maybe 6 months? We are already offering startups discounts for enterprise packages. If you do need access to enterprise package, so just give us a ping. You can ping me directly on Slack, and I will hook you with Pedro, who's leading our technical sales, and he can run you through those. But yes, we're definitely open to considering that. We're a startup ourselves, and we are using several of these type of benefits with other companies. So it's just also free to say that it should just be fair for us to kind of do the same, right? Any other questions from anybody else? Okay, Chris. Within the advanced publishing workflow, is there a plan to schedule when content is published? Yes, it is. You cannot just only schedule for content to go live at a particular hour or a particular date. You can also schedule an unpublish as well, because sometimes you might have a page that is live for Black Friday for 24 hours only. You can then schedule a publish, and then you can schedule an unpublish event, right? So yes, scheduled publish is part of the advanced publishing workflow as a feature. Let's see, Donnie. Will the functionality of the advanced publishing workflow be available by API? So when we're building things for Webiny, everything is built that the API is detached from the UI, and therefore, yes, you'll be able to control aspects of the advanced publishing workflow through the API. Pretty much like 100% the Webiny platform is 100% API driven, right? And without, you can technically build your own UI on top of it and retain all the functionality. But the same approach will be then used for advanced publishing workflow as well. Abby asks, is Git publishing planned in the workflow? So I'm not sure I understand that part. Like if you can expand on how you envision that process to work. But maybe to kind of steer you in the sense of the direction. Is Git publishing planned in the workflow in terms of WCP? So WCP accounts for the CI/CD publishing workflows. So with WCP, you'll have, let's say, two types of environments. You'll have local development environments that belong to individual developers, and they can have as many of these. They will all show up in WCP under their name. But besides those local environments that belong to individuals, there's a second aspect of environments that are CI/CD environments, like your production, staging, pre-production development. Those CI/CD environments will get API keys provided by WCP, and whenever they try to publish, whenever they try to deploy a new Webiny instance, there's going to be deployment logs linked to those events in WCP, and all of their usage and cost will be linked to the appropriate CI/CD environment. So we count for the CI/CD. Is that going to be GitHub Actions, Bitbucket pipelines, or something else? We're agnostic to that, right? You keep your pipeline as you have it today. Just between that Webiny deploy command, there's going to be an API key provided alongside it, so we can link that individual project and deployment and environment to the appropriate entity on the WCP side. Hopefully that answers your question. If not, feel free to expand a bit more. Okay, well, if anybody else has any more questions, we've got time to take them. If you have questions on any other Webiny related topics that we didn't talk about today, feel free to ask those as well. As I mentioned, we've got some time as well. So okay, we got two more. One again from Abi. AWS Amplify Studio versus Webiny. If you find to share insight on it. So the AWS Amplify Studio is an interesting one. I mean, they are bringing some workflows in terms of building components from like moving components from Figma into like a React application. Like, as I understood it, I haven't looked too much into it, but one of the focus elements for Webiny is going to be still around the content management needs, especially the content management needs for enterprises, and ensuring that we provide the supporting utilities to self-host those Webiny instances at scale, right? So you see how we fork from something agnostic to like AWS Amplify helps you build applications, sure, right? But we do something else. We bring the processes and actual applications that are focused around content publishing and website building, which is something different to Amplify. On first, it might look similar, for example, especially with some of the improvements we're going to be doing on dynamic elements. We're going to make it really easy to go from Figma component into Webiny within like just a few minutes. So that might be an overlapping thing with AWS Amplify Studio, but still we do that within the scope of the page builder application and the content management experience. Jake, regarding CMS, is there any way to version the schema? So in your workflow pipeline, you can promote these changes. So that is the like one of the things we're looking at with schema migrations, because there's a couple of things today. Like today, you can version your schema because you can define schema for the headless CMS in 3 ways: through the UI, which uses the API in the background, or the second thing is just going to the API directly, but those you can't version. However, there's a third way you can define headless CMS schema, which is documented on our documentation portal, is through code. You can create a file that holds the definition of your schema, right? And since this is a file, you can put it in your Git, and therefore it's versioned. The challenge with schema migrations is not so much on I've got schema A and schema B, right? And I want to move between them and version them. That's not the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is I've got schema A and schema B, but I've got like 10 million records on schema A that no longer might fit directly into schema B. How do I do the translation between these 2 schemas? What happens to the content? What happens if I want to move I'm being abstract now, but if I want to change the file field into a date field, right? Does it blow up? Hopefully not, right? So these are some of those problems. But the idea is that you can build, that we provide utilities, probably CLI based, so you can then automate some of these things through your API pipe, through our CCD pipelines and similar, right? Giving you that programmatic control of doing the schema migrations. I know, like, I'm kind of having a bit of an abstract answer here, and the reason is that we haven't yet locked in the full set of requirements. So if you have any things that you would like to share with us that you want us to take into consideration for the scope for this one, just reach out to us on Slack, because we'll more than love to talk more about it. Abby, 2 more questions. With WCP, are we able to have the ability to code in browser, something like Sanity or Next.js? No, we don't. We're not focusing on those elements at the moment. Coding experience, we feel like it's still best if it's done within your local environment, local editor that you are used to. We don't want to change that experience. We don't really see the value in improving it. Some solutions do provide live coding experiences purely because they are hosting that code themselves, and they need to ensure you're not doing something crazy that could affect the rest of the platform and so on. Because Webiny is self-hosted, we're not worried about these things because everything is on your end. So providing an online editor, we don't see a real value there. We do have an online API playground that kind of helps you use your GraphQL API in an easier way, but for editing, we just didn't see the proper use case there. Chris, did you say that WCP includes management of Webiny version upgrades? But WCP won't run automated updates, not at this stage. What I talked about was multi-stage deployments. This means that you're able to roll out code changes to your Webiny deployment, but as a new environment. Say you have environment A that is running Webiny 5.19, right? Now you want to upgrade to 5.20, but 1 million users are using your website, and you want to be really careful about it. What we're going to allow you to do with WCP is roll out as a new environment 5.20, but 100% of your traffic is still on 5.19. But then you're able to split the traffic and say, hey, send 5% of the traffic to 5.20 to to that other deployment, and just ensure that everything is working fine before you move 100% of the traffic. Note that those multi-stage deployments are not reserved just for Webiny upgrades. They apply to any code changes, including any customizations that you want to make, right? So let's say your team is rolling out a whole set of new page builder plugins that you want to carefully roll out to only a small set of users, right? You can use that same mechanism. So that mechanism just allows you to have multiple deployments and then have a traffic splitting mechanism in front of them. Jake, thank you for the cheers. So Jake's just sending some appreciation. Another one from Abi. Is WCP also an open source? Just asking to understand the product roadmap. It would be great to have both the hosted and self-hosted, because many times we just like to spin up the project in hosted for small projects, as it costs less, and we don't have overhead for maintaining it. But for experimental and larger projects, self-hosted is one of more helpful. Eager to use it. Abi, so on the WCP, so WCP is a separate project to the Webiny CMS. So Webiny CMS is still self-hosted and you operate it. It's installed on your cloud. WCP is not open source. WCP is a closed source project. It's a SaaS product, but it works alongside your self-hosted Webiny CMS. So the CMS component is always self-hosted, but the WCP component is a SaaS product that sits on top of it, but it's hosted on our cloud. However, the WCP component doesn't ingest your data. That is, it doesn't host any data for you. Your data still stays with you. You have full control and compliance over it. So I was just saying, so it will be something like Porter. I'm not familiar with Porter. I'll write it down and I'll have a look. Thanks for mentioning it. We got 5 more minutes. If anybody has any other questions, we can probably take 1 or 2. Porter, but right.
I just wanted to say, it looks like you've been busy. Loads of new stuff. Fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. And there's, thank you, Ben. We've been very busy, and we've got a lot more planned, but 1 quarter at a time. So there's going to be many more exciting features.
Yes.
But yeah, just
Rome
let's first deliver on those.
Yeah. You'll take 1 battle at a time, but it's really nice to see these features. It's every time I look at it, Webiny's got another feature that I think, oh, this is so cool. It's really, really nice. Going places.
Yeah, and like, to be honest, like, I don't think any of the items on our roadmap were things that we came up internally. Everything was driven by the community, and we're super grateful for that, because it just tells us we're building things that people actually need instead of assuming what those things are. Makes our job a lot easier, to be honest.
Yeah. Go with what the audience wants. It's great stuff.
Cool. So I don't think. Oh, we do have a poll. That's a good reminder. So let's just do a quick poll. I'm going to launch it. Give us your honest view. It's a simple one question poll around the contributions, just to see what the reactions there are. Awesome. So I'm just going to share the results with you guys so you can see them. It seems like majority of people on the call today are looking positive at the community plugin contribution that Swapnil displayed today, which is great. Again, just shows us that we're doing some things that people actually want to do today. Awesome. Cool. Well, I think for today, we are just on time. So thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for participating in the discussions today. It was really interactive. That's awesome to see. We'll continue doing the community calls once a month, bringing you news. Sometimes it might be just smaller recaps. Sometimes it might be sessions like these today where we show more detailed progress. So, but it was great having you all today. Thank you for your time, and awesome to see you again. See you around on Slack as well. So.